Hey there, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear and see me okay. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. I'm really enjoying everybody's input in the chat. I hope that continues. First and foremost, I just wanted to thank Client Success for giving me the opportunity to connect with you all. I know you're incredibly busy doing the important work you do every day, impacting the lives of your customers and the health of your business. I'm really deeply grateful for the gift of your time, and I do not take that lightly. So, thank you for spending the afternoon with me. So many of you in the chat have expressed being solo or small team CSMs in scale up mode. And boy, do I feel that. We are in this together. But yeah, to dive in, I just wanted to give a quick introduction into who I am. My name is Kristen. I'm the senior CSM at Nutshell and located just outside Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Nutshell's headquartered. Actually, just moved house from a condo in the city to a beautiful historic home in the downtown area. So, to anyone entering the home buying race, I feel you. I can empathize with the challenges and wish you the best of luck on your journey. This is my team and who I show up every day to represent, and I'm so proud to be here today on their behalf. This team has adopted a customer first mindset in absolutely everything they do, from our product development to our internal process. Um, Everything we do to engage with customer feedback and support our users. I'm very deeply humbled to be among these wonderful people every day and could not be here today without their hard work and dedication. Years ago, I started at Nutshell as a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed support rep. I left a position in face-to-face sales because I dreamt of supporting scaling business owners in life-changing ways. I knew that technology was the path forward, so I decided to make an industry switch. Nutshell is a simple and super powerful B2B CRM and marketing tool, but that did not make us exempt from having retention issues. And I learned that pretty quickly in my experience processing cancellation forms that entered the support queue. We'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so today I'm going to share my journey pioneering an effective customer success department in hopes that my storytelling can help you navigate some of the unique challenges at your own organizations. These steps represent the arc of CS development at a startup or business that is new to customer success engagement or management. The first step is to name the problem. And before we go any further, I would love to hear in the chat if you've already identified the problem facing customer success at your organization. What is the problem you want to solve? If you haven't named it yet, that's okay. Let's hear from some of the other experts in the audience about what their experience has been. Sharing this challenge may help others identify their own challenges. So thank you in advance for your candor. I'll check back on those momentarily. So please keep the chats coming. Once identified, we need to rein in who our ICP or ideal customer profile is so that we begin solving these problems. We know who our focus group should be. Name and set your goals and then get to work. If my story, starting CS at Nutshell, was a book, I would title it No, 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 Yes. Once you figure out what works for your specific organization and customer, you can begin to standardize and scale that process for maximum impact. Try to resist the temptation to copy a process that has worked for other organizations. It's not a one size fits all gig, because where would the fun be in that? All right. So when I started exploring Nutshell's retention problem, I had a limited number of hours every week to dedicate to solving it while also balancing my work as a support agent. So prioritization was top of mind, as it should be for you. New customers under a year and existing customers over 5 years were churning out. And it took time to decide on the best, most impactful place to start. Okay. So let's look at some of these. Hopefully you are popping off in the chat right now. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, still typing, that's okay. I'd still love to hear from you in the chat if there are anything, if there is anything you want to share with the group. For me, in my case at Nutshell, the biggest leak was new customers. Renewals between 10 months and 1 year were dropping below 100% MRR retention, and we were losing over half of new customers at 12 months. So yikes, those numbers look really glum, but engaging with this issue with honesty was key. And I'm so sorry, my slides don't seem to be cooperating, but that should say what gets measured, gets improved, words to live by. All right, so if you are making the argument for CS at your organization, like I did a few years ago, I just have a few tips that I like to share with those kind of digging into the process to start. Dig into the data, whatever you have. Can you monetize the problem that you have identified, right? Putting dollar amounts on those reasons can really help navigate conversations about getting more resources or making CS a priority. You also have to speak many languages. You and I both know the customer is queen, but finding ways to emphasize the critical nature of changing culture with, from your CEO to your product and marketing teams, it can feel like learning to speak a foreign language. So I encourage you to find out what is important to individual teams and make meaningful connections between what you want to do and how it will help them be better at their jobs and your company more successful in terms that they can understand. Okay, and I skipped over this one, but acknowledging past failures is so critically important. We had tried a out of the box CS initiative in the past, and it didn't connect with our customer base. So really looking at why things hadn't worked before and taking those learns in stride is super, super important. All right, you also need to be experimental. A couple of the other speakers have been wonderful, by the way. Everyone's doing such a great job, but treat this as an experiment. This is a science. I don't know about you, but I have an ego and getting it wrong sometimes can hurt. But strong opinions loosely held is the name of the game here. It's okay to try something that doesn't work and then pivot. And then finally, create space for growth of CS at your company, or hold space at team meetings to talk about customers. Create a Slack channel to share your learns and customer wins. Report financial gains within the terms of your experiment. I encourage you to slow down and allow your wins to be celebrated. Okay, so the next stage in this arc is identifying ICPs. So who are your ideal customers? But more importantly, why are they leaving? Who has the greatest growth potential but is not growing? I relied on my leadership and marketing teams for information. So fortunately, I did not have to reinvent the wheel when it came to aggregating data to get those answers. So when in doubt, ask. The more data you have, the more focused your experiment can be. Okay, but these are really great questions to be asking. All right. So if we're not sure where to start with the data and you're not really sure just where to look, these are the real ouch moments, but they are so important to look at. So in addition to team collaboration, which I'm very fortunate to have, I also look to these resources. So cancellation reports, if you are automating these, consider temporarily at least processing them manually. You'll learn a ton from your customers about what did and didn't work, and help you categorize those losses as best you can. Not enough team training or not receiving ROI were top of the list for my customers at the time I stepped into this role. And that really helped me learn where Nutshell was leaving money on the table. Poor reviews can leave an entire team feeling hurt or defensive, but don't let it. Please lean into that feedback, remove ego again from those conversations, because there's so much to draw from a bad review. Exit interviews with your largest customers, those are also great resources, and Net Promoter Score, NPS, that's also a good place to start just to find out, do a quick pulse check. How are my customers doing? So in the Nutshell realm, I found that the greatest opportunity we had for retention and growth was in customers 5 seats and above who had large teams, but signed up with a modest number of users at the start. We were kind of missing this opportunity to connect with those users in a proactive way that would help them navigate the challenges of software adoption, right? They are many. Okay, so once you know what your problem is, and once you know who your target should be, it's time to name a few goals for yourself. And that can be a really hard thing when there's so much going on. If you're working at a small but mighty organization like Nutshell, it may take time to ramp up. Patience is the hardest part, but as long as you are always building your case through religious data logging, your time is not being wasted, right? I would say we don't work in a vacuum. Things are constantly flexing. So we've got to be flexible, even though we are very, very focused on the goal in front of us. Okay, so this should feel like review at this point, but I feel that it bears repeating. Don't scale a plan until you have evidence that it works. Constantly gather feedback and make that feedback visible to your entire team. At Nutshell, we use our very own CRM to showcase this information in CS-specific custom fields. Just some food for thought on that note. If you're not using a CRM yet, please do. It is very important. Okay, so after months of listening to customers, gathering qualitative data about their experience, it took time, but I was able to name these 5 pillars of a successful customer at Nutshell. They each received consultative help migrating their data, and the process was both white glove, so handled by someone on my team, and free. There was little barrier of entry to get their information into the system. They also needed help setting up their pipelines, or in other words, implementing their playbook into the system. And then not all team members had the same data access, so making sure we were solving privacy problems before they happened through team restriction settings was key. Integrations are hard for non-tech types, or as one of my favorite customers calls them, technophobes, but they're also critically important to helping our customers internalize our systems as that data hub, that source of truth. And they needed training, quite simply. Okay, so it was time to get to work once I had all this information in hand. This is the customer success onboarding pipeline that works for Nutshell customers, but every brand and product is unique, so these stages may not work for you. The typeface is a little small, so just to quickly go over these stages, I organized our customers' early journey into an automated outreach stage. I have a 60% connect rate, so this helps me protect time for customers who are engaged, who are interested in receiving help. The first meeting with stakeholders happens next. Follow-up and homework, right? A lot of expectation setting. Configuration, admin training comes after that. Team training, and then a short period of nurturing and gathering feedback about the process, the product, and the experience. So I'm going to send out a resource right now in the chat that I used to simplify this very complex process into a few easy steps. I welcome you to use it if it's helpful. All right, let's make sure. Cool. That just posted in the chat. All right, there's some good engagement. You guys please keep that coming. I can't wait to answer your questions momentarily. But the resource that I just sent out to you, and this is free for you, this is food for thought to help you initiate discussions about your customer's early journey and pave the way forward for every customer to start with your company on the right foot. Or you can use it as a framework to standardize the way you handle escalations, whatever those big problems, those big leaks are. Once we understand who we're targeting, what our problems are, in order to scale that or to make it effective for the entire organization, it's got to be standardized, or at least parts of it. Okay, so you saw my stages. You are the expert in your customer's journey, not me, but hopefully this provides some nice framework into getting those that process standardized. All right, and this is a sticky note that I have on my desk at all times to remind my ego to chill out. I revisit my pipeline about once a quarter, and even though I am high-key obsessed with this process, I have to remind myself that things change. We don't work in a vacuum, right? As we saw last year, business can change. Our customers can change. Our internal team dynamics can shift. Resources fluctuate. Staying nimble, even after your process is launched, will help you remain successful. Okay. So we started this short presentation, and our time together today is limited, but really looking forward to continuing the conversation on LinkedIn or in the chat throughout the rest of today's sessions. But we started this presentation looking at Nutshell's retention problem. So I wanted to close with how this experiment has impacted our business. Last month, we achieved negative churn, which is like the holy grail in SaaS. Our customers are staying with us long past the 12-month mark, and this work has greatly impacted our lifetime value to the cost of customer acquisition. We grew the CS team and have expanded into account management. So we're now taking on proactive health checks with existing accounts to start addressing that next priority. Okay. So that's a very brief overview into the process here at Nutshell. This is a short time today, but I would love to connect with you after the fact to continue rooting for you and supporting you along your journey. This is not easy work, but it is worthwhile. I really wanted to hold space for questions today because the summit is for you. you're taking time away from your day to day for this. So it's important to me that you walk away with some actionable steps forward to improve the experience for your customers, to put your name on the big R or revenue, to encourage a culture of customer success. And if you're not comfortable asking questions in this format, you can always connect with me later. But perhaps with that, I can turn it over to QA.
All right, awesome, Kristen. Really appreciate you taking the time. I think we do have time for one or two questions. All right, cool. So I guess, let me look at the chat pane. Do you see any specific questions in the chat pane that you wanted to address? I know there were just a ton in there. Let's see.
Yep. Yeah, I would love to hear from, I know there were a lot of folks in the chat who said, oh yeah, Raman said CSAT is a great metric too. That's a really good one.
Yep.
I would love to hear from those solo CSMs, folks kind of starting up, like what is the challenge that you're trying to solve right now? I'd just love to hear a little bit from the folks in the audience today. And perhaps I can offer a little bit of advice.
While they're chatting in, I can tell you from doing, however many webinars we've done on this, I bet one of their first questions is just going to be something simple around the fact of just like, how do I get buy-in? I'm the first CSM. I'm kind of, my role is being treated kind of as an experiment here at, X, Y, and Z company. What is the best way for me to get buy-in when I say we need to run this experiment or that experiment? How have you guys thought about that in a nutshell?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. And kind of what we were talking about earlier about speaking different languages, we understand, like we are empaths, we understand the customer experience. We're also very business minded people in customer success. So it's this dance that we love to do, but in reinterpreting that understanding to our CEOs, to our product team, it changes, it varies a lot. So I think being flexible and really understanding, I think somebody called out in the chat, understanding what the very high level goals are for your organization. What are the metrics that your leadership team is tracking, and finding a way to align with that. And it should be taken into consideration, right? Because they have all the information. So yeah, I think asking the right people. I regularly got time on my CEO's calendar just to be like, hey, what's important to you? Because I want to help.
That's the biggest mistake that I see a lot of people making is when they ask for resources to go do some CS initiative, they put it in my terms. They use, we're going to be able to onboard customers so much quicker, or even though congratulations on getting to negative churn or positive growth, as I like to call it, that's a huge milestone. Like a lot of times your CEO or maybe your product folks don't necessarily think about it in those terms. So whoever you're trying to get kind of buy-in to your initiative, to your project, putting it in their terms. I like what you said there. Cool. I think we have time for maybe one more. Are there any specific questions that you wanted to take a look at?
Let's take a look. All right.
Looks like Megan asked about corporate stakeholders goals. I think we kind of touched to that a little bit.
Addressed that. Yeah.
What's the importance?
I mean, I think I'm not seeing a ton of questions. I'm just seeing a ton of the negative feedback is really our opportunity for growth. Any kind of losses report, you guys. I know everybody's so excited about growth and sales, and we should be. That is super exciting. But the opportunity, that is a really reactive, triggering piece of data. If we can monetize or put a dollar value on the losses for these different, exit interview reasons, that's what really gets me excited, because that's when you can start talking in dollars and cents as opposed to, this is what the customer feels. So I love our losses report. It's just everything to me, because, while it can be a little glum, that's the meat and potatoes of really what we have to lean into.
So if you don't have a losses report right now, what is your advice on the first thing to do? Is there a Dan was talking earlier about it doesn't matter if you have the system, just go figure it out, even if you have to put it on pen and paper at first. What is your first piece of advice on, okay, losses report, that's the first thing I want to go do. Where should people start?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the data, and I was very fortunate to have, we did not automate our cancellation form. So I had eyes on every single customer who was leaving, but there are a million other ways we can get that. I mean, I think that asking customers for feedback is quite an ask. So providing some sort of exchange of value in order to get your customers to start talking to you, that can be especially challenging if your organization has traditionally not been customer minded,
Yep.
right? You're kind of changing the narrative and they might not be used to that. So there's going to be a little bit of repairing that relationship that happens at the start. But if you can't exchange value and, put that in whatever terms you like, if that's swag, if that's a discount, if that's, a couple pizzas, whatever that is for your customer, that's really going to get them to like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I can hop on the phone with these folks. That's really a great place to start. If you can get on the phone and ask very focused questions around what's not working and what is, then we can start the conversation. Then we can start to log the data and then use it moving forward.
Amazing. Well, really appreciate you taking the time. I learned a ton here, and I know so many people are asking for, what are we doing with the recording? What are we doing with the slides? Can I get all this afterwards? So keep an eye on your inbox. It'll take us a little bit, but we're going to get you all the details, all the recordings, all the slides, and we'll do a lot more with all this. So short answer is yes. Keep an eye on your inbox, and we'll give you all the details.